In today's video, we will be looking at a £500 gaming PC, best performance with new parts build. So basically what that means is we're going to put a £500 gaming PC parts list together, which comprises of new parts and the very best performance that we can get for our £500. Let's jump into that list right now. So obviously we've got to go down the Ryzen sort of route here, because Intel at the moment on the budget side isn't really that good, and their motherboards and the CPUs are a little bit too high. So we're going with the trusty Ryzen 5 4500 again, which on Amazon is currently £59 and is an absolute steal of a bargain in my opinion. I still think this is a really good CPU to use for a gaming PC. 6-core 12-thread. It's going to be perfect for more or less any graphics card that you put up against it, unless you're really going up to like maybe 4070 Ti and stuff like that. But anything sort of like 3060 Ti and downwards, it's going to be perfect for the CPU. And also, I didn't mention the Ryzen 5 4500 does come with a stock cooler, so obviously you will be able to use that. We are not using a separate tower cooler or anything else. We're going to use the stock cooler to keep the price down. Next up is the Gigabyte A520M DS3H. And that is £65 on Amazon currently. I think this is a solid motherboard on the A520 chipset, which is really all you need for Ryzen 5 4500, because that CPU doesn't support the PCI Express Gen 4, only supports PCI Express Gen 3, and obviously going with a B550 motherboard would obviously not enable you to use the PCI Express Gen 4 if you're using the Ryzen 5 4500, so don't spend the extra money buying the B550 chipset boards. Don't bother with that. Just go with an A520 or B450 or even an A320 you could even go with. But I would just go with a Gigabyte A520M DS3H, just a solid motherboard. You're going to have the BIOS flashback capability, the Q flash I think they call it for Gigabyte, and you'll be able to flash the board and then put in your CPU once you've done the flash on that. And actually I will have a video coming up on this motherboard, because thankfully I have sold the £350 gaming PC which I put together for £350. I've got the value of the parts back, and we will be buying the motherboard on this build and also the case. So obviously please subscribe to see those future videos. Next up is pretty standard again, 16GB of Corsair Vengeance LPX RAM, the 2x8GB sticks. They are clocked at 3600 megahertz, and they come in at £36, so an absolute bargain really. RAM, obviously DDR4 RAM is pretty much dirt cheap now. Corsair LPX is more than you need really. I mean, it's going to be enough for what's required. You could go up to maybe the Corsair Vengeance RBG type RAM, £11–12 on top of that price, to maybe 48 or so pounds, but I just don't see the point personally. It's up to you, but I don't see the point of putting RGB RAM in, but it's your choice. Next to keep the price down is the Crucial P3 1TB NVMe drive, which only costs £35 on Amazon currently, and I think that's perfect. I wouldn't go with a 2.5-inch SSD because you just got extra cable clutter and they're just not as fast as the NVMe drive, so seeing as they're more or less the same price as the NVMe drives, or maybe just about a tiny bit cheaper, you may as well just go for the NVMe drives personally. And they're M.2 drives which just fit into the M.2 slot nice and easy, one little screw, job done, easy. So yeah, just go with that. That's 1 terabyte is more than enough for most gaming PCs now. You could go up to 2 terabytes if you really need the extra storage, but again, the choice is yours. If you want to get less storage and maybe a little bit of a better graphics card, you can do that. And obviously, talking about the graphics card now, we have the Powercolor Fighter RX 6600, which on Amazon currently is £199. So I think that's a pretty good value card in my opinion. The RX 6600 is obviously a proven 1080p card for medium to maybe even high settings in more or less every game, even like The Last of Us Part 1 or anything like that. I mean, it is pretty much fine for any games that you can throw at it. 60 FPS or more, it's going to be an average for that. It's going to be fine. Now, obviously, some people are going to say go up to the RTX 3060 maybe. And yes, if you've got maybe a little bit more money, you want to go into the used market, you could probably get a used RTX 3060 for about, what, 220, 230, maybe 240. Again, this is new parts, the best build we can do with new parts for £500. So I think the RX 6600 is more than good enough. You know, put your recommendations down in the comments if you think there's a better graphics card out there for this sort of price. But I think for 200 quid, RX 6600 is going to do the job fine. Next is the power supply. Now, obviously, power supplies are kind of not great price-wise at the moment. It seems to be some kind of shortage or something on power supplies. I don't know what it is, but unfortunately, you're just going to have to pay quite a lot for a power supply at the moment. But the one I've gone with is the Gamemax 500 watt Rampage PSU, which is an okay power supply. Now, if you do have a little bit of extra cash, I would go up to £550, and I would certainly go with something like a 600 or even 650 watt power supply, just to give you a little bit more breathing room and potential to upgrade your graphics card at a later date if you wanted to, because the 500 watts with the RX 6600 is going to be right on the limit really, and you're not really going to want any lower than that. It's recommended you have a 450 watt power supply for the RX 6600, so it's kind of right at the limit. I wouldn't go any lower than 500 watts for a PSU with the RX 6600, but for £39, this power supply is going to do an okay job and do what you need, and that's all you need from a power supply. So £39 is about the best value you can get at the moment. But again, if you've got the extra cash, I would certainly go with a lot better power supply. Maybe like a Corsair or Seasonic unit. I wouldn't skimp on a power supply personally if it's my own rig, but again, for this build and for this list, to get the absolute best price you can, I've gone with that. And then obviously rounding off is our MSI Mag Forge M100R, which again I'm gonna get going to get this down, I'm going to get this case down and actually unbox this case, so that'll be really good. I'm really looking forward to that case. It only comes in at £55 and it has 4 ARGB fans as well, with the ARGB controller at the back as well, so you can plug all your fans into the little controller at the back, so it's all nicely cable managed and everything, which is great. I think for £55 this is a bargain case, and I really want to look at it. It's got the front mesh as well for the fans at the front. It has the 3 fans at the front and the one at the back. I think it's going to be great personally, and I'm really looking forward to getting this on the channel, so obviously make sure you're subscribed to actually see that video when it comes out. Now obviously our total here is £488, so you are sort of saving 12 quid for maybe a pint or two there, obviously, if you you know, if you want to go out drinking, and maybe after you've splurged on your gaming PC, you can maybe have a pint or two. But or obviously if you've maybe got the little extra 12 quid or so, you could maybe buy some cable extensions maybe, or potentially maybe a tower cooler for your CPU, potentially, although I'd say about £15 and over is probably where a tower cooler is at the moment. But yeah, I mean, £488, I'm pretty happy with this build personally. I think it's a solid build for £500. If you think you can beat it, let me know and what components you would use. But for £500, you know, it's not a massive budget for a gaming PC these days. But I do think if you spend it wisely and you spend your budget, you know, as best as you can and sort of follow near enough this list, I think for £500 you have a very good gaming PC which you'll use for maybe 2, maybe 3 years out of this. I think you could get. So hope you really like this video, guys. Like I say, the motherboard on this build and also the case we'll be looking at in future videos. So obviously subscribe to that, and obviously like this video if you did like it. Dislike it if you really didn't like it, and maybe leave a comment on why you didn't. But you know, I hope you did like this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.